l'équipe, comme toujours, ce sera intéressant à vivre. Évidemment, ceci dit, on a pas mal de marques représentées aux avant-postes. Guillaume, on va pouvoir le confirmer. On a deux Audi, on a une Honda, on a une Volkswagen, deux Volkswagen. On retrouve ensuite la voiture numéro 9 d'Attila Tassis, et encore une Honda avec Tom Cornell. Edouard Mondron est présent avec une Volkswagen. Et puis on a une Seat en 9e position, ce sera celle de Pepe Oriola. 9 tours, ça veut dire 63 km à avaler pour les concurrents des TCR International Series. Et assurément, une course qui s'annonce explosive. Celle-ci sera bien, celle de demain devrait être encore mieux puisqu'on aura le top 10 des qualifications inversées. Donc celui qui aurait été le plus rapide des essais qualificatifs, Stéphane Tommy, partira
Hello everyone and welcome to round 5 of the TCR International Series here from Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. A wonderful, legendary circuit and fantastic to be here once again. There is where Spa-Francorchamps is, in the north of Europe, but actually quite far south on the German border. We're not far from the Nürburgring, in fact, just about an hour's drive, and this is the Ardennes Forest. There is the layout of the circuit, effectively two sectors that are very fast, Sector 1 and Sector 3. Sector 2 is the technical, newer part of the circuit that was built when they wanted to shorten the original huge loop that ran through different villages down to a permanent racetrack. And therefore you have two very different characteristics. Here is the championship classification after qualifying. Jean Calvinet extended his points lead over Dusan Borkovic and Roberto Colciago with an extra few points from qualifying. Oriola did not manage to pick up any points, but he did get into the top 10, and that's important for the second race of the weekend, where others did not. Colciago, Borkovic and Hugo Valente all failed to get through into the second part of qualifying, and therefore we've got a very interesting second half of the grid here. There is a hole behind Colciago, and that is for Stan Poulsen. In his Seat, he'll start from the pit lane. Here it is then. Two Audis, the first pole position for the RS3, pole and second for Come To You Racing, Boots and Gignon in third for Ben Lezens from TCR Benelux, and then the two Leopard Racing Team WRTs. Behind them, Attila Tashi, then Tom Coronel making his debut in the International Series, Mondron from Benelux. Oriola managed to get to 9th position ahead of Max Potti, who binned it in Q2. Ferenc Fischer didn't manage to set a lap time. Morbidelli in 12th spot. Altoe, Cortals, Nash struggled, Homola struggled in the Opel, Colciago, Borkovic really struggling in the Alfa Romeo, but he is the first of the Alfa Romeos because Kajaya will start from the back of the grid in 24th position, having had to change his engine after Bahrain. Hugo Valente wanted to go home after this qualifying session this morning because he felt like he did not have a chance. And that is because, as the rules go, anyone who comes into the championship gets new tyres, of course, because they don't have any old tyres. But to save costs, the rest of the competitors will roll their tyres throughout the season. So you only get a certain amount of new tyres per weekend. The rest have to come to your allocation that you've already used. So various of these drivers were running on tyres that they had raced on in Bahrain or even in Georgia. Of course, if you're new to the championship, you don't have the ability to do that. Therefore, you have all new tyres. Now, that should not play out too much in this first race, because this first race, there'll be enough tyres for everybody to have new ones. It'll be the second race tomorrow, where perhaps we'll see a significant shift towards those who are new to the championship. This man, though, he's the headline catcher. He's the main man, Rob Huff. He starts 5th behind his teammate, and he is here to support his teammate Jean Calvinet at the Leopard Racing team to try and help the team and Jean Calvinet win the championship. Fantastic to have a world champion in our midst. Not his first time, though. Not his debut. He, of course, raced in and won Macau. He's got a 100% record in TCR International Series. There's Tom Coronel, another driver from the World Championship, who is joining us this weekend. Now, he raced in TCR Benelux full season. Didn't have a great weekend last weekend. Therefore, he decided to come and do this and pitch himself up against the international guys. He qualified behind his teammate, who qualified 3rd. Coronel will start this race in 7th spot. Searching for Roberto Colciago, who goes through the shot, and Dusan Borkovic, both of those not getting through into the second half of qualifying. Borkovic and Colciago, 2nd and 3rd in the championship coming into this weekend, after both taking victories at some point. We've had 4 different winners in the 4 races that we've had so far, 2 in Georgia, and then 2 supporting the Formula 1 race in Bahrain. It was Colciago and Borkovic who won those 2 races. Oriola and Kajaya, the other 2 winners so far. There is David Kajaya at the back of the field, because he managed to basically destroy his sump over a curb in Bahrain, and without any oil in the bottom of the engine, it obviously failed. So they had to change the engine. That is against the regulations, and therefore he gets a grid penalty for this first race. He will be able to start in his rightful position for the second race, which kicks off at around, I think, 11 o'clock tomorrow. So a little bit of a strange timetable, having a race on Friday and Saturday. That is because we're here for the WEC weekend and the World Endurance Championship race on Saturday here at Spa. So we're going to get the support races away before the main race. Great to have, great to be on the support package here. It's a very busy support package as Coronel throws the car into that final chicane. The reason he's doing that is because the rear tyres do very little in terms of actually driving the car. The power goes through the front wheels, the steering goes through the front wheels, so it's quite easy to get temperature into those front wheels, but the rear wheels just trail, and therefore the only way really to get any temperature into them is to throw the car sideways and try and get some at least scrub, because even the rear brakes are tiny, so there's not going to be any heat from those rear brakes. Cars lining up on the grid. 24 runners, the biggest grid we've had in a while in the International Series. 6 different brands and a brand new pole position car in the Audi RS3. La Source that's facing them. A very tight right-hand turn. Can we all get through it cleanly? 9 laps face our drivers. And we're racing here at Spa. Who's made a good start? I think Favish has made a slightly better start than Kamini. But here comes Jean Calvinet down the middle of the all 3 of them. We go 4 wide with Ben Lezenes on the inside line. And Attila Tashi in the Honda has made a great start, but he loses the rear end and slides. We've got a Honda 1-2 as they head down. Colciago's been pushed into a spin. He's at the back of the field, but I think we've got, from 2 Audis, we've got 2 Hondas now at the front. Tashi, what an amazing start from Attila Tashi. Ahead of Ben Lezenes, and then the 2 Audis of Kamini and Vavish. Then it's the 2 Volkswagens of Jean Calvinet and Rob Huff, and then Mondro in a Volkswagen as well. Good start, looks like, by James Nash in the second of the Bamboo Seats, the first of the Seats, in fact, and he is just behind Pepe Oriola, who's side by side with Coronel going into Le Camp. As I said, it's going to be very busy further back. Look at them all trying to sort themselves out. Is that Max Potty in the middle of the shot, who's not made a very good start? He's dropped down the field. Yeah, down in 17th position. So Potty starts in the top 10. A few guys feeling the need to defend. Oriola got past Coronel. It's now Nash's turn to try and make his way through. That's for 8th position. Nash is in 10th, so in the points. Good start from James Nash. Where did he begin the race? He started down on the 8th row. So that middle pack really had a very interesting first couple of corners. Morbidelli leading Fitzer there with Altoe behind him in the West Coast Volkswagens. And there is Guillaume Moron, who found himself in the barriers in qualifying, and he's right back of the field, so he's not had a good start either. Two Opals, oh, big shunt there between Hommler and Max Potty, and Hommeler's going to have a puncture, yeah, very easily. Punctured that front right tyre. I'm not sure he's going to get himself to the end of the lap. He's probably halfway around the circuit where he is there. And here is Eduardo Moron, as Attila Tashi is under pressure from Stefano Camini. So where is Ben Lezenez has dropped down to 3rd position. We've missed that. Stefano is now looking to try and take the lead of the race. Attila Tashi on the inside, Camini on the outside in the Audi. Round the outside of the first bit, no, not quite. Can't get the side-by-side, but Attila Tashi leaves him miles of room and invites him up the inside. He holds on for the moment, but Tashi needs to get his elbows out a little bit. That was rather too polite from the Hungarian. Actually, we saw that last year a little bit, I think. Seem to remember, certainly in the earlier races, Tashi, who was racing for B3 Racing in a Seat, was so polite with some of the older contenders. Tashi is only 17 years old. Nash down the inside of Oriola. And they've been passed by Coronel. So Coronel's got past the both of them. Now Nash and Oriola run side by side. Ooh, who's going to give up between these two teammates? They're here not to help each other, but to race for the title. And Nash backs out of it sensibly to go through Eau Rouge. There's a big wiggle from one of the Alfa Romeos at the back of the field there. It is Kajaya behind Borkovic. Again, side by side. Tashi has the inside line here. Can he brake hard enough? He needs to edge Stefano Camini wide. No, but Stefano all the way around the outside, and he's grabbed back the advantage in the in the Audi. Vavish hasn't been able to follow him through, so we do have Vavish still in 4th position under pressure from the two Volkswagens, but Camini's first lap was mighty. He obviously had good tyre temperature in his RS3, and he's got ahead of both of those Civics. Camini, full season entry, champion last year, 2-time champion, of course. And then Tashi, who has had some good results over the year, but not stellar. Now back to a replay of the start. Great start from Jean Calvinet, and managed to find a way to make some space for himself there. But really it was the second half of the field that got majorly shook up. Max Potty, I think, was one of them. Let's have a look. The camera pans with the early runners. There's Colciago, and yeah, Potty was trying to avoid Colciago, and that's why Potty went so wide. Now up through Eau Rouge, a bit of side-by-side action going on, a few cars cutting across the circuit. And this was the incident between Potty and Hommler. Big old shoulder, and that's put a puncture in Hommeler's car. He has made it back to the pits, I can tell you, but he will change his tyre, perhaps go back out to circuit as Kajaya goes off to the beach and loses a few positions there. There is Hommler, and I think that's game over for him. Norbert Mikulis is here. Fantastic to have the Works Honda driver to supervise his Mira team and watch Attila Tashi, Hungarian, 17 years old, looks up to Norby as a complete legend of the sport of touring cars. Has grown up watching Norby over the last, 5-6 years. Tashi was just 11 years old when Norby won his first independent championship, and now Tashi is racing for Norby's team. That's a wonderful story. And yet to take a victory in the International Series is Tashi, but for the moment he's got to find a way past a 2-time champion. Camini yet to win this season, has 9 wins in total, is the most successful driver in terms of wins on the international scene. And now Tashi is under pressure from Ben Lezenez, TCR Benelux Spa expert, and Lezenez goes round the outside of the first part of Les Combes takes the inside line. Now can Tashi hold on? Not quite. Tashi drops down to third position. He needs to be more aggressive. Needs to get his elbows out a bit more because he could have edged Lezenes wide there, but instead he's let him through. And Ben crashed the Coronel car in the TCR Benelux weekend last weekend, and so we didn't get a lot of running, the two of them in the Boutson-Gignon team, and that's why Coronel's here, and that is why Ben Lezenes is trying to make amends for it. Ferenc Fizer, fastest in Q1, down in 12th position, chasing down Gianni Morbidelli. And there is our leader, Stefano Camini. Audi now, we have to remember that Audi do have a victory in the International Series, and actually Audi do have a pole position in the International Series thanks to the Audi TT that was wavered in 2015. It was the Cup car that they used to support the DTM Championship, and they were allowed to use it for a couple of races, and Nicky Thiem took a pole position and a win in the Audi TT in the first year. But then that car was outlawed. It wasn't really a TCR car, and Audi began work on this RS3, and does look great. Fantastic to have two of them on the grid. There were about 10 in TCR Germany. Morbidelli and Fizer side by side through the chicane, and that is Fizer trying to pass Morbidelli, and that's happened. So Fizer up to 11th, Morbidelli down to 12th position, but they're still behind, or outside the points at the moment. I think both would really like to get some points. Morbidelli, an absolute star in touring cars, and obviously in motorsport in general, having been a Formula 1 driver back in the 80s, but struggling a little bit at the moment with the Volkswagen that West Coast are preparing. Remember, West Coast, in partnership last year with Sport Promotion, ran the Hondas, and they've switched to Volkswagen this year. So Stefano Camini leads. Ben Lezenes is second position as Camini gets a bit of a wiggle on into Lecon. Tashi third, Vavish fourth, Vernet fifth, with his wingman Rob Huff in sixth position, watching out for him. And then Mondron under huge pressure from Coronel just behind at the back of shot there. There they are going through now. Eduardo Mondron, Vernet is all over the back of Vavish now. This is Vavish's debut weekend with front-wheel drive. And when you are debuting, it's all right to do one lap with front-wheel drive because you get the good grip that you feel from a rear-wheel drive car. But as the race wears on and you start using up those front wheels, those front tyres, you do feel a difference. And this is where the touring car legends come into their own in the second half of the race. Jean-Charles Vernet wouldn't put him in that bracket yet. Only 1 year of racing experience in front-wheel drive. Vavish, though, this is his first race. Race for Audi in GTs. That's why he's been brought into this championship to bolster the Audi brand on the grid, and also to help Stefano Camini, of course, in the bid for the championship. Come to You Racing rescuing Stefano's career that looked to be ending at the start of the season. Couldn't get himself a drive. And Come to You Racing decided to pick up an Audi RS3 and run it for him. He's getting more experience last weekend in TCR Benelux as a one-off. And there is the WRT team looking on, watching Jean-Charles Vernet, the Frenchman, who leads the championship at the moment, but without a win. Can he pick up a few extra points? I mean, for the moment, actually, Stefano Camini's had such a bad first couple of weekends that he sits well behind Jean-Charles Vernet in the points. In fact, Stefano Camini is 10th in the points. Has 31-point difference. So Camini taking victory here, and Lezenes, Tashi and Vavish ahead of him isn't that much of a problem for the moment, because all of his rivals, certainly in the early part of the championship, are behind. He's found a little gap, though, into La Source, and just about managed to wiggle his way through. Vavish, though, is going to try and fight back, and they run side by side down to Eau Rouge. This is the place where somebody's got to give. Huffy's on the brakes behind, not sure who to follow, and Jean-Charles Vernet falls back into line. All of that has allowed Mondron and Coronel to catch up on this train of 5 cars for 4th position. Mondron now has a nice slipstream behind Rob Huff. Tom Coronel wants to play as well. Coronel's got the overlap, and I think he's going to find a way through down the inside of Edo Mondron here. He does. He moves himself up into 7th position. Nice work from Coronel. Now we've got the two World Championship drivers together. Great friends off the circuit, Huff and Coronel. They've been doing the World Championship for, 13, 14 years together. But whenever they're on track, they're real rivals. Venet, desperate to find a way past Frederik Vervisch. And you've got to applaud Yas Motorsport, because the starts that both Ben and Attila got as they rub going down towards Pouin, there is a little bit of an overlap, but not quite enough. Oh, there is. He's got his nose inside, and they run side by side through Pouin, which is a very, very brave thing to do. Frederik Vervisch on the outside now, and he's going to let this whole train come through. He manages to shut the door just about. Mondron with the momentum to get back down the inside of Coronel, puts Coronel into a slide. Coronel holds on just, but now he's on the grass, and this is going to get messy. Coronel holds on. Oriola around the outside of him. Oh, that was a bit naughty from Mondron, I think. Rather helped into that slide. No way that he was going to get through without contact. And all of that has also put Jean-Carl Venet ahead of Vervisch. It did happen for him. Huff didn't manage to follow through, but Venet is up into 4th position. Here it is again. Oh, he'd already made it, of course, through Pouin. Coronel, having been tapped, then had to run wide. And there is the reaction in the garage. Concertina effect down into the chicane. James Nash is being passed by Ferenc Fizer there. You've got to applaud for Fizer, Hungarian, because he's in the same car. And Bambu have been running these cars now for 3 years, the SEAT. They've got plenty of experience. Oh, Coronel, a little bit of touching, a little bit of rubbing on Pepe Oriola. All of a sudden, Pepe will remember what it was like to race him a few years ago. And Nash has got back ahead of Fizer. So that's the battle for honours in the SEAT category. At the moment, Oriola ahead of Nash. And then Fizer 3rd, and Coronel has got a slipstream again. The top 3 roll through our shots. Some distraction techniques from Jean-Carl Venet. And here comes Mondron to look down the inside of Rob Huff. And no slipstream from Tom Coronel, but again, takes more speed through Lecom Apex. Gives Pepe Ora a little nudge. We've got still, at 3 laps left, plenty of time for this to still shake out. Stefano Comini has done the fastest lap of the race a couple of laps ago with a 2:32.978. Not bad. Coming down to Pouin now. They all filter through shots. No changes at the moment. It's a very fast corner. And once you've set your kind of racing line through there, really want to be adjusting it. Vervisch on the defensive, Huff looking to try and find a way through. Oh, and Vervisch has run wide, and this is the inexperience of front-wheel drive now starting to play out for Frederik Vervisch. There's no doubt that he's a fantastic driver. Took a victory in the first round of the Blancpain GT Series in an Audi R8 last year. And, was an Audi kind of semi-works driver for a few years. But this is first weekend with front-wheel drive, and very, very quick qualifying second, just a 10th off Stefano Comini, but he needs to understand how to treat these tyres through a whole race distance. For the moment, it looks like he's just struggling a little bit, running wide there through the exit of Blanchimont. Let's give him enough momentum. Here comes Coronel on Pepe Oriola. Oriola has to defend. That is for 8th position. Now Coronel goes around the outside, and this is going to work for him. Oh, that was a lovely move. Well done, Tommy. What a move, and it's compromised Oriola's momentum out of the chicane. If James Nash can capitalise on this, Oriola goes defensive. But no way through, and actually Ferenc Fizer's gone wide. Oh, and Coronel's run wide in La Source. Oh, he's made a mistake all on his own, and now it's side by side, heading down towards Eau Rouge. Very close between Vervisch and Huff, but it's side by side, and Coronel's got back through ahead of Pepe Oriola. Nash runs side by side with Fitzer. And how's that going to play out? Because Nash was well off the racing line. It's allowing Morbidelli to get close, and behind Morbidelli is Pierre-Yves Courtals, Vernet and Tashi side by side. This is for third position to put Vernet onto the podium. He was on the podium last year here. For the moment, Tashi has managed to hold on. Again, he has to go defensive. Jean-Charles Vernet racing for WRT. They are based very, very close to here. This is their home circuit. Franz Fitzer's had a moment somewhere because he's dropped out to part away from that Nash battle and dropped behind Nash and Gianni Morbidelli and Pierre-Yves Courtals. So perhaps Lecombe was his problem. Fitzer, who was fastest in Q1, is just about trying to scrabble himself a point or two. Vernet, again, to the outside this time through the chicane. Fanier's chicane looks a bit dirty, doesn't it, on the exit there, and Tashi runs a little bit wide. And now past the University on the inside there, and into Stabilo. This is where the newer circuit, it's not new because it's kind of 30 years old now, joins the old legendary circuit, the flat-out blast back towards La Source. And then the downhill towards Eau Rouge was actually the old start, finish, and the garages that these TCR cars based in this weekend. At the moment, Tashi stays ahead. Again, runs a little bit wide. Needs to stay on the defensive here, stay on the inside line, and for the moment, that's good. Vernet's not going to find a way through with Tashi right in the centre of the circuit. So just trying to see if Tashi has had a podium last year. He did have one in Sochi, I thought he did. But this will be his equal best result if he can hold on. And that, for the moment, is a big if. Remember, Vernet won the second race here in Spa. It was his maiden victory in the TCR International Series with the same team, the Leopard racing team, WRT Run. And Huff still hasn't managed to find a way past Frederic Verviche, then Mondron, then Coronel, then Oriola, then Nash, then Gianni Morbidelli with Pierre-Yves Courtals now trying to find a way through. Nah, you can't do that, Pierre-Yves. Just open up the steering wheel at the top of Eau Rouge, especially when the cameras are on you. The race stewards have yet to hand out any driving penalties, but we do have cars 64 Coronel and 25 Mondron under investigation. Mondron tapped Coronel into a half spin around the Fandias chicane a couple of laps ago. Coming up to just one lap remaining. Oh, Attila Tashi's run a little bit deep there into the Brussels hairpin. Has he allowed Vernet past? No, he hasn't. Just about managed to bring it through, and actually that's the kind of place where you can run deep into the first part of the corner and still bring it back into a late apex, not compromise your speed too much, but it does show that Tashi is under pressure from Jean-Charles Vernet here. Less than a car's width between the two of them. The final podium position, will it go to a Honda or will it go to a Volkswagen? New livery for Attila Tashi, celebrating his energy drink sponsorship with Hell. And he'd love to do them proud. Had a horrible weekend in TCR last year here at Spa. It was his first kind of times to actually finish the race because he had some even worse results before that. But Tashi really struggling in his later laps. He'll know that Norbert Mikelic, his sort of idol, as well as his team manager and team boss, is watching on in the garage. Obviously, Colciago, his teammate. Where is Colciago? Down in 20th position, really struggling. He's already got a win last time out in Bahrain. Norby's saying that he watched that race from his hospital bed, or not his, but his wife's hospital bed, who had just given birth to their first child, who watched the race in hospital, and they took a victory, and I'll never forget that day. A brand new child and a win in your new team. Final lap then, Stefano Camini, Ben Lezenes, and then the battle for third. Tashi versus Vernet. Then a bit of a gap, Verviche, Huff, and Mondron, with Coronel a bit further back. There'll be lots of crossed fingers down in Mira's pit garage at the moment, as Pierre-Yves Courtals has seemed to pick up some pace in these latter laps. He's got past Morbidelli, and now here he goes past James Nash, and that is going to put him into the points. Simply a drag down towards Eau Rouge. And they are going to be scratching their heads, aren't they? Valente in 16th position, Oriola with 2 points in 9th, and Nash is now out of the points in 11th. Tashi, bang in the middle of the road. Jean Carbonet cannot find a way through. There is an overlap, so Tashi can't possibly go to one side or the other in fear of contact. Coronel's past Nash as well, so Nash has had a real problem somewhere. And Morbidelli and Fitzer going side by side. Fitzer at Lecombe decides to take the shortcut, but backs out of it. Somewhere, it's not Coronel, is it? It's Pierre-Yves Courtals. Tashi still defending. About half a lap to go now. Heading towards Pouon. Not really a place for overtaking. He just needs to make sure that he hooks up the apex, does this nice, does this right, and then defends into the Fagnes chicane. Tashi could launch an attack at any moment under brakes. Again, puts Vernet on the outside line. Great defensive work from Attila Tashi. That is the Leopard team, but what about Norbert Mikelic and the Mira team? They are going to be nervous as Tashi runs a little bit wide. Really, only the braking zone at the bus stop chicane to go now as an overtaking move through Stabilo. This isn't really just an acceleration zone. Blancpain, Blanchimont, you've just got to be very, very careful about not running too wide. Who is going to be third position? Bated breath in the pit lane. We know who's going to win this race, though. Stefano Camini with a commanding advantage by the end. A great first couple of laps to put him at the front of the field. And Audi take victory here in Spa. The first victory for the RS3 in the International Series. Lezenes for Honda in second position and Attila Tashi in third. Vernet, Verviche, Huff, Mondron, Coronel all come over together, but what a drive from Attila Tashi to hold on to that third position. And Ferenc Fitzer comes across the line with a rather damaged rear tyre. I think he's had some more contact from behind, hasn't he? And some very disappointed cars further back. Valente, Borkovic, here is what happened. Pierre-Yves Courtals redesigning the back of Pepe Oriola's car. And that was for 9th position. Oriola holds on for 9th. But what about Fitzer, who was close to the top 10, close to the points, but just missed out. There's a little traffic jam going in. They'll all stop down in the endurance pits, the TCR pits. There is Ferenc Fitzer. I think actually the rear of the car is broken. Stefano Camini, Jean-Carl Vernet shouldn't be in there. He wasn't in second position. Ben Lezenes in second spot. And Attila Tashi, his best result in the International Series in third position. There is Stefano Camini, absolutely psyched by that. Do you remember in Bahrain a couple of weeks ago, he kept saying the car is undrivable, I can't drive it, it's awful. And now he's just taken his first victory of the season, and it's his 10th victory in the International Series. He really is the man here in TCR International, and fantastic at Come To You's home circuit to take victory in there, celebrating with the Audi Sport customer team guys. There is Dieter Renken, a very, very famous face and name from TCR, from Audi Sport. And the customer racing program that's been so successful in GTs, now rolling into TCR. And once again, proving this is the place to be.
Grazie, Come To You!
Thank you to Come To You Racing. Absolutely. Now, I believe that what's going to happen is these three drivers are going to be taken up to a podium in a moment. We're going to hear from them. Stefano Camini then, 3.5 seconds ahead of the Honda of Ben Azenes. And then Honda in third position as well with Attila Tashi. What a drive from him, holding off Jean-Carl Venet all the way through those latter laps. Pavish in fifth, Huff in sixth, Mondron in seventh, Coronel in eighth, and then Oriola and Cortals round out the point scoring positions. Nash just missing out, and actually a little bit disappointing to see that the international guys have really struggled in this race. Colciago down in 20th spot. Alpha did finish 16th for Borkovic, 18th for Kajaya. And then a couple of guys. Actually, we didn't have any DNFs, didn't he? Because Homola manages to change his tyre and get back out onto circuit. So Mato Homola did finish, but finished last, and Paulson also. I think there might be a party tonight.
Merci, Tata. Merci.
There is Stefano's mum. Plenty of people wanting to say congratulations. He is a very popular character here in the TCR International Series paddock. Raced one of the very few drivers actually to race in every single race.
Oh, sur le podium! C'est qui du team?
So they are going to head up to the WEC pits, to the entrance to the pit lane, and that is where we will get our interview and our podium ceremony as the WEC robot. Now, I've never understood that. It's just that guy thing, whatever it is, tours around the WEC paddocks all year and apparently entertains the crowd. I've seen many a child cry at the sight of that. There's plenty of adults with their phones, but the children are a bit scared. So whilst we wait for the podium, let's enjoy some of the best images from around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. So I can confirm that the contact between Coronel and Mondron at the Fagnish chicane, where Coronel was pushed wide, there is no further action on that one. So that's good. Here is the classification of the points after that race. Jean-Carl Venet with a now commanding advantage ahead of Attila Tashi, who moves up into second position ahead of Borkovic and Camini, all on equal points, and Colciago in fifth. So other than Jean-Carl Venet taking a massive points haul and a big advantage, that race hasn't really changed much in the standings, except for Tashi getting a huge hike up into second position. And plenty of people on the leaderboard now. Let's have a look at the highlights. Well, Jean-Carl Venet then, great start from him. The Hondas both got great starts. Attila Tashi particularly, he went to the outside, you can see on the left-hand side there, and he managed to get around all of those front four cars. An amazing start from Tashi. But further back, Colciago ran wide, and Max Potti also got shuffled down from 10th position. Colciago then struggled from there. Through Eau Rouge for the first time, plenty of bit of touching and contacts, and the Alfa Romeos trying to make their way through after a disappointing qualifying. Potti and Homola getting together, and that was a puncture for Mato Homola. Definitely a racing incident. but Hommler did manage to get back to the pits, and he finished in 24th and last position, having changed. Norbert Mikelic to watch his man Attila Tashi, kept his fingers crossed as Kajaya went to the beach and ran very, very wide. And this was the move for second position. Ben Lezenes going around the outside of Attila Tashi at Lecombe, and that is where he would stay. But Stefano Comini had already got past Tashi and into the lead of the race. Tashi seemed to be a little bit passive in the first couple of laps as Jean Calvinet managed to find a way through in Pouan, push Verviche wide and move himself up into fourth position at this point. Verviche managed to shut the door to block Huff, and Mondron lost control and tapped Coronel into half a spin. Coronel just about managed to save it, but did drop down a couple of spots. Oriola at that point going past him. But then this move from Coronel, a very, very nice move, put Coronel back up ahead of Pepe Oriola, and that is where he stayed in 8th position. So it was, after 9 laps of racing, Stefano Comini taking his first victory for the Audi brand, for Come To You Racing. For the Audi RS3 and Come To You Racing, his 10th victory in the TCR International Series. And we had a wonderful battle between Jean Calvinet and Attila Tashi for about 4 laps, where Tashi had to defend and Comini managed to hold on. Well, first victory, 10th victory for Stefano Comini in the International Series. Let's hear how happy he is.
Stefano, you told me you were emotional after qualifying. You must be doubly emotional now.
Yeah, it's incredible. Pole position, first victory of the year, first victory of the Audi in International Series. Also, I'm very happy, very emotional, and it's great. It's really great for Come To You. They gave me an amazing car. It was simply perfect car, and I can do the Blanchiment flat out, a Rouge very fast, and all the corner was simply a perfect car. Also really, Jean-Michel Barthes, François Ferbiste, and Audi, really thank you because it's amazing, really, thank you.
You said that you had problems with setup in both Georgia and Bahrain. It looks like you've got it right now.
Yeah, now it's working. Now it's working very well, very good. I hope to come in Monza with such a ballast of 30 kilo, and there it will be a little bit different for sure.
Well done.
Thank you, guys.
A very composed Stefano Comini there, and I think that probably reflects on the gravitas of this moment for Audi as a brand, with the Audi Sport red jackets around. And you know, when you see that, that is really when it comes to home and when it means business. Racing in Georgia, racing in Bahrain, not so much of an Audi Sport presence, but suddenly when they're all there and all egging you on, and the big boss Dieter Renken is there to watch, then it means something. And Stefano Comini very, very happy with his victory. As he said, a controlled victory, fastest lap of the race, Blanchiment flat out, not Eau Rouge, which was his task. And I did say to him this morning, I think it's impossible, Stefano. And I think maybe he's come to that conclusion as well. And it doesn't matter, because he's won by 3.5 seconds. So if he has to back off through Eau Rouge to keep the car on the circuit, then that is fine. Plenty of Belgian presence in that top 10, though. Look, 4 drivers in the top 10. And then those are the drivers who missed out. Shame for Ferenc Spitzer. Looked so promising after Q1 with Zengo Motorsport and the Seat. And sadly, missing out on points, a puncture or something at the end of the race, really was in the wars. And there are the drivers that had even more problems. Hommler with that puncture, but 24 cars started and 24 cars finished here in Spa, and that is significant. So Oriola then, 3 points behind Colciago, Comini, Borkovic and Tashi. Shouldn't be too disappointed. I'm going to suggest that Kajaya and Valente, Nash will be a little bit more disappointed, especially with Nash missing out on the points whilst his teammate has got points. But now we have nearly 20 drivers with points in the International Series. And hopefully this will encourage some of the guys who are from TCR Benelux to drive their cars down to Monza next weekend and join us for another International Series race. Here is Attila Tashi heading towards the podium. Down below is his mirror team, heavily represented by Jas and Norbert Mikelic here as well to put his arm around the young 17-year-old. There is Ben Lezenes. Only one victory in TCR Benelux, and that was in Mete. And when he races in Spa, I don't think he's still on the podium in Spa in his 2 seasons. So this is a big moment for Ben on the International Series, and Stefano Camini is the man on the top step of the podium for the 10th time in TCR International. The Swiss national anthem for Stefano Camini, who lives on the border between Switzerland and Italy. Not far, in fact, from where the TCR International base is. And here is Yves Baclen, who is at times our chief steward, to present him the trophy. He is the president, of course, of the RICB, the ASN here in Belgium. And therefore, for this weekend, he's not our steward, but he is taking that role instead. And oh, I'd love that trophy. How cool would that be? A map of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit in trophy form to go on Stefano Camini's wall alongside the collection of so many other trophies. The McGann Trophy when he was winning that, Clio's before that, and now TCR. Yves Baclen should know which one to present next, shouldn't he? He's done enough of this for so many years. It's the Belgian. Ben Lezenes, just 50 miles away from Spa is his home. And he's in second. And Tashi, good job, boy. Nice work from Attila Tashi. Really hard work, kept his nerve, kept Jean Calvinet behind him. And I think JK will be very, very proud to see Attila up there as well. You know, because that was clean racing. There was nothing dirty about it whatsoever. A quick photo. There's plenty of guys down below the podium to celebrate. Wonderful to see. Another quick photo for the photographers down at the very bottom. And then, for the first time this season, we can get some Pommery spraying. Pommery, one of our series sponsors. Fantastic tasting champagne, and hopefully Stefano will save some for me. Wonderful racing here in Spa for the first race, but we have one more race coming up for you. Remember, tomorrow morning, please join us wherever you can in the world for more TCR action. See you then.